Hello and welcome to Binge Watch, the podcast where we take a look at the hottest new TV and film releases on streaming television platforms. I'm Hannah Fernando, the editor-in-chief of Woman and Woman at Home magazine.
And I'm Ian McEwan, writer on TV and Satellite Week, TV Times and What's on TV magazines. And today we're looking at the new releases that will be available on Friday the 27th of March 2026, including Riz Ahmed and Guz Khan in Prime Video acting comedy Bait, about an actor hoping to play James Bond, and a Spanish-language adaptation of best-selling novel Like Water for Chocolate, one of a raft of shows on new streaming platform HBO Max.
And we'll also find out why Billy Idol should be dead, courtesy of Now TV and Sky Arts, and rejoin Victorian sleuth Miss Scarlet on You and Alibi for some exciting news. But first, Ian, what is in the news?
Well, Hannah, as you know, to cheer myself up in the morning and avoid the news, I like to watch Everybody Loves Raymond on Channel 4, a classic sitcom which they repeat. And the writer and star of that, Ray Romano, is going to play a widower trying to carry out his late wife's wishes in How to Survive Without Me on HBO Max. What else is in the news, Hannah?
Well, Peter Mullen, Lucy Boynton and Babu Cisse will join the cast of Game of Thrones spin-off A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms when it returns for its second season.
Pretty good selection for you this week. We certainly got the breadth of variety is unparalleled. Oh yeah, I said it. We're going to start on Sky Arts and Now TV with a rockumentary called Billy Idol Should Be Dead. And here's a clip.
It's easy to say it's the drugs, but what about if it's me? What about if it's really Billy who's doing this? I didn't know who Billy Idol was when we started Generation X or Chelsea. But by 1981, well, I know who Billy Idol is. I've got 5 years being in the public eye. It's 5 years being on television. 51, 1. It's 5 years honing your act. So now I know Billy Idol is.
This is a feature-length rockumentary. I think it got a release in cinemas. And yeah, well, it's very much my era. Billy Idol. He was part of the Bromley contingent of Sex Pistols fans. He was the lead singer of a band called Generation X. He was dubbed the pretty boy of punk. He had a really cool peroxide blonde hair and a sort of curled lip, a bit like Elvis. Good looking guy. And he went on to have a very successful solo career with songs like White Wedding, Rebel Yell, Eyes Without a Face, Dancing with Myself. However, and it was very much early days of MTV helped him really crack America with his videos. However, as we know from many a rockumentary, alcoholism and drugs are never far away, not to mention that he had a horrific motorbike accident after which he nearly lost a leg. Yeah, so, I mean, this obviously has his blessing. There's quite extensive interviews with him as he is now. He's a granddad now, and he genuinely feels lucky to be alive given the life he's led. And he's still recording, performing. There's one of his new songs is played over the end credits. There's some really good animation, a bit like kind of Julian Temple style, to help tell the story. We've got various talking heads, including, I think, the bass player from Generation X and various other bods. His ex-girlfriend, Perry Lister, who was a dancer in Hot Gossip, and the mother of one of his 3 children. Yeah, the stories behind his offspring are quite interesting as well. So yeah, I guess he kind of says when he started out, he didn't drink or take drugs at all, but I think he kind of felt the pressure to be Billy Idol and to sort of be a rebel, and yeah, it all went horribly wrong, which it does as soon as you become an addict. But he looked like he was kind of going to get involved in acting and had been offered a role in Terminator 2, James Cameron's Terminator 2, and then he had this terrible bike accident. I would say, considering it's got his stamp of approval on it, it's very warts and all. He's pretty honest about everything. Fair play to him. It's not, there's so many celebrity documentaries now that are just like their version of events, and so much is left out. But he's pretty upfront about everything, and he's very likeable, Billy Idol. And I'm an 80s kid. I loved his music, so really enjoyed this. What did you think, Hannah?
I just love stuff like this, as you know, these kind of rockumentaries, these music documentaries, where you just learn so much about somebody. You think you know everything, you don't. And of course, what we do know often comes from what we've read, column inches, really. And so this, as you say, clearly has his seal of approval, speaks to lots of people who really knew him. And I think you pointed out when you were talking just then about the fact that he wasn't the pattern of drugs. The usage was clearly where the wheels came off, literally, didn't they? And like you say, any addict, that is what happens. But seeing that world, that pressure, I guess he was under to kind of be a star. And we see this time and again without any framework around them, this happening. And I guess he was one of the lucky ones coming out the other side. What effects those drugs and everything else had on him is relatively clear, I would say, in this. But you get closer than ever. And like you say, really, the fact that he's part of this, it is pretty warts and all. You don't feel like this is a rose-tinted lens that you're seeing through at all. So definitely one to watch.
Over on Prime Video, we have a new comedy series called Bait. And here's a clip.
I got stuff cooking.
What are you got cooking?
I can't tell you. It's top secret.
Oh my God, Sharpie, are you going to be the next James Bond?
Just an audition.
James Bond is white.
I want to show people that this is what a hero can look like.
There's a lot of hate coming at you on the internet right now.
I know you're probably getting a lot of that too.
Not really.
I do like a bit of Prime Video, as you know, Ian, and this doesn't let us down, does it? This has 6 episodes. It's season 1. It's comedic at times, not all the way through, in my opinion, but it's pretty comedic. And it's true. It's most British actors do dream of playing James Bond. I don't think you can just say it's just actors. I think most men dream of playing James Bond, to be honest with you. And in this, you see Riz Ahmed, as you said earlier. He's given the chance to chase that fantasy. And as I said, it's called Bait. It's a comedy. And he plays the part of Shah Latif, who's a struggling actor from Wembley. When you meet his family, that's sort of the funny bit, really. It's the idea that he's literally going for this job as James Bond, will become like the biggest, hugest star globally. And he's this guy from Wembley going back to his family of the evening. Now he's had to sign an NDA. He's not allowed to talk about it. But there's a bit of gossip that one of his family picks up on in one of the rags, and he says, is this true? And then, of course, it confides in them. They get very excited about it. And this 6-parter follows him over the course of these 4 wild days. His life completely spirals out of control. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous screen test. He certainly looks the part, dressed in that suit with that dicky bow. But I suppose what it does do, and the deeper sort of meaning of this, it questions who is the next James Bond. It does question that. Could he really actually, after this, be the next James Bond? We've always had a white, muscly man as James Bond, and this would certainly ring the change for good, in my opinion. And so it comes under fire for a lot of reasons, and they address all of those reasons in this. It is funny in parts. I've enjoyed what I've seen so far. And as I say, I think it plays on not just actors' dreams, but most men's dreams. Maybe some women's too, but a lot of men's. What do you think, Ian?
I liked it. There's a lot going on in it, I've got to say. Yeah. So it's created by Riz Ahmed. And, of course, we've seen he's a real talented comic actor from the film Four Lions, but he's also done things like Sound of Metal. yeah, he's very versatile, and I think he's sort of put a lot of his own experiences into it. So as well as being almost like a kind of satire of the movie industry, you know, what it's like, and then there's also his home life with his Pakistani family, and also memories of suffering, you know, racist attacks when he was a kid. You know, pretty grim. And yeah, social media. You know, it's quite. And there's also some quite weird stuff. So I think it's in his garage. Someone throws a pig's head through their window, and he puts it in the freezer in his garage. And then when he opens the freezer and he imagines he's on a podcast with Patrick Stewart about acting. So that's really bizarre. The best thing in it, I would say, is Guz Khan, who plays his cousin Zulfi, who is he's trying to get this sort of Uber for Muslims business. I think it's called Muba. And you know, I love Guz Khan anyway, but this is the perfect vehicle for him. He's absolutely, the two of them together are just hilarious. If I had a criticism, it would be that perhaps there's almost too much going on, and I'm not quite sure what the tone is, because there's some really hilariously funny stuff, but then there's some quite, you know, some pretty serious reflection about this guy's life and racism and mental health. So, but I was really impressed by it, and yeah, I hope it comes back for another run, because yeah, he's shown that as well as being a great actor, he's a very good writer as well. Over on to You and Alibi and the streaming platform You. It's a new series of the period crime drama Miss Scarlet. And here's a clip.
It's not that business has dried up completely, but things have been rather quiet. Have you fallen out with the inspector?
I can assure you, Inspector Blake and I are in the best of terms.
You know this woman?
I can explain.
Firstly, do not blame me for what happened. Secondly, do not ask me to share confidential information.
Is there a thirdly?
Still thinking.
I've got a bit of a soft spot for Miss Scarlet.
Have you, Mr. McEwen?
Played by Kate Phillips. The reason why, so she's a female private investigator in Victorian London, and I went on set when they used to film this series in Dublin, and I went to supposedly Ireland's highest pub and was given a certificate for taking part in an Irish dancing display. So yeah, I am a bit biased. So Kate Phillips is Eliza Scarlet, and it used to be called Miss Scarlet and the Duke because the wonderful Stuart Martin played this Scotland Yard detective, William the Duke Wellington, and yeah, and they were kind of partners in crime solving, quite a turbulent sort of professional relationship, and it was that the will they won't they thing. It's a bit like Victorian Moonlighting, if you remember that series. So now, of course, the Duke moved to New York, so it's now just called Miss Scarlet. However, I have exciting news. As we rejoin, so the Duke was replaced by Alexander Blake, played by Tom Durant Pritchard, and there was a kind of a similar vibe between the two characters. Well, hold on to your bonnets, because we find out in episode 1 they are now an item. Yeah. So yeah, Eliza is very keen to keep this under wraps. So whereas usually she would happily collaborate on cases, she doesn't want to because she's really frightened about word getting out. So yeah, there's a lot of domestic stuff going on, which is rather fun. It's very much a case of the week. Police procedural, this one. So the first case is 2 patients being treated by the same doctor for health problems are found dead. Could there be a link? So yeah, I think it's really well done. It knows what it is. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's got the wonderful Kathy Belson in it as Eliza's maid, Ivy, and I spoke to her recently about a a series that we're going to be reviewing very soon, Irish crime drama called Hidden Assets. Anyway, that's by the by. So yeah, if you've seen this before, you know what you're going to get. It's cosy crime. It's not too gruesome or scary. It's lovely period drama and romance. I mean, come on. What more do you want? It's good stuff. What did you think, Hannah?
I agree with you. Period drama, romance, and a bit of crime thrown in. It's an absolutely perfect recipe, isn't it? It really is. I mean, you do know what you're getting with this. You know, it does what it says on the tin. Miss Scarlet is very beautiful. Is that why you have a lovely soft spot for her, Ian McEwan? I really like the dynamic of their relationship, actually. I like the fact they both have kind of quite difficult past, the bumps in the road of a relationship. It feels, you know, considering sort of when it's set, it still feels incredibly relatable. A lot of people will kind of relate to that. And there's a real love for one another underneath it all. And I like them navigating that. So, yeah, this is just a lot of fun. You'll enjoy it.
Well, we're going to end with something, I would say, rather a little bit unusual for us. It's one of a raft of new shows available on the new streaming platform HBO Max. So you might have seen a lot of publicity for Noah Weil in medical drama The Pit. But we're not going to bring you that. We're bringing you the drama series called Like Water for Chocolate.
I mean, it really is the most random title, isn't it? If someone came to you and said to you, right, I've thought of this book, it's going to be a bestseller. Oh, yeah, okay. And what's the name? Like Water for Chocolate. Yeah, it's got a real ring to it. Well, guess what? That 1989 novel went on to sell more than 10 million copies worldwide. So what do I know? What commercial value do I have? Exactly that. It has been done before. It was made into a film in 1992, and now it's been adapted into the Spanish language television series. Now, the subtitles you have to get over. I'm going to say that straight away. I've found that. I do find subtitles a bit tricky. My kids put it on all the time, no matter what, even when they don't need subtitles. It's just on all the time, and it drives me nuts. I don't know why they do it, particularly as they seem to have things up full blast too. But anyway, that's a separate conversation that I need to speak to my therapist about. But actually, here and now, that kind of, I had to get past that. So as I say, it's now being converted into the Spanish language television series, and it's on HBO Max, which it's worth a view. It's set during the Mexican Revolution, around the turn of the 20th century, which is quite interesting anyway. And it follows the story of Tita, played by Azul Guaita. I think that's how you pronounce her name. And they're not allowed to marry her beloved Pedro. Because as the youngest daughter, you have to look after your elderly widowed mother, and that's what she has to do. So you have to watch them loving each other but not being together. And I think their performance is the bit that hooks you more than anything. And you can see why, duty over love. They play it so well, I think, in this. I was really hooked by the passion that they had, and they're struggling to control absolutely everything. They feel a certain way about each other, but they have to watch each other with other people, and I think that's the bit that sort of hooks all of this together, whilst also learning a lot about that period of history, which is which is really interesting. I feel like that every part of what they do as actors comes through, and it's so emotional. And I watched a fair bit of this and felt a bit wrung out, Ian, after it. You just feel really kind of like, God, the passion and the want and everything that comes with this. They live and they breathe as if it's really them. I've really enjoyed what I've seen so far. A love story that knows no bounds. Will they, won't they, can they, can't they, is what it's all hooked to. And it's not a surprise that it's coming to a television series after being such a hit as a novel, and of course in film. What did you think, Ian?
I really liked it, I have to say. And Like Water for Chocolate comes from a Spanish phrase, which means that your emotions are on the verge of boiling over. And it's a bit like when water is hot enough to make hot chocolate. So yes, obviously in translation, it does sound slightly odd. I've not read the book. It's a massive bestseller by a Mexican author. This was a sort of passion project for the actor Salma Hayek, or her full name, Salma Hayek Pinot. And it's such a dense story. It's one of those magic realist stories that you get 2 series. Both series are available. It just gives them that time to really tell it to the full. And it is just superbly well done. I mean, it looks incredible. It looks absolutely gorgeous. And a large element of it, of course, is about food, because Tita, this is the sort of magic realist, one of the magic realist elements of it. She expresses her emotions. She pours them into her food. She cooks all these delicious food. It's like food poured. It just looks gorgeous, all the kitchen scenes. But then when people eat the food, strange things happen to them. So it's a lovely idea. But then you've got the very realist background, as you say, about what was happening in the Mexican Revolution at the turn of the 20th century. So yeah, it's such a great story because, yeah, she's not allowed to marry Pedro, but he then marries her sister so that he can kind of stay close to Tita. It's all pretty. And then another sister sort of goes off and becomes a revolutionary, which is sort of connected to the food thing. You've got Mama Elena, who really, she kind of comes across maybe to modern audience as the villain, but she's just sticking with the tradition of the time. So yeah, I got assigned this to write about in the magazines, and I thought, well, I'm surprised I've been given this. And I spoke to some of the actors and watched some of the episodes, and I just think it's fabulous. And there's not many things around like this, so I would say, yeah, have a look, because I think it is just top quality and very different, very unusual. Even if you've not read the book, I think you're going to love it. Yep. Now we've got to that time, young Hannah Maladio, where we find out what the hell you've been binge watching.
Oh my god, I finally finished all of the Gones on ITV. I just love, wasn't that, but I know we reviewed it, but my goodness me, absolutely loved it. That is brilliant. And also, I was getting Florence, my daughter. She is an athlete herself. She runs for the Run Club, and I was watching the indoor athletics for a while with her the other night, and showing her what she could do if she keeps training.
Fab. Well, yes, I've been watching some athletics, which I love. Of course, MasterChef continues. But talking of rock and roll and drugs, there's a good documentary on Netflix that's just dropped about the band's the Red Hot Chili Peppers, who got into similar difficulties. Well worth a look. Well, we've just got time to look ahead to next week's offerings. So what is on the Binge Watch menu, Hannah?
Mad Men's John Hamm carries out on burgling as Apple TV's Your Friends and Neighbours returns.
And Jack Whitehall stars in a TV series based on 1989 film The Burbs. I think Tom Hanks was on that, wasn't he? He was in that. About a husband and father who moves back to his childhood home. What could possibly go wrong? So we look forward to those and much, much more. But in the meantime, dear listeners, watching!